Happy Friday. Here we are, Memorial Day weekend. Hopefully it doesn't rain like it does every Memorial Day weekend ever. So I got a couple questions on the post, as well as I had a couple questions left over from that I didn't get to answer from my polls on the internet on the stories. So first off, from Ella Swift, do you ever want to step into a gym building as a next level coach? Do you think about coaching, or have you coached fitness competitors? First, let me just shut this door. Alright, so as far as training in the gym, training in the gym is kind of awful. You know, I did that from, I got my first cert in 2004. I trained in a gym with tons of clients, 70 clients at a time. 60, 80 hours a week. I probably slept 3 or 4 hours per night for years. I loved training people and stuff like that, but in terms of the wear and tear on your body, the lack of sleep, it's just an awful situation. It just sucks. And then when I started having a family, my son was young, I would see him on Saturday for a couple hours, and then I would see him on the following Saturday for a couple hours. Actually, it was Sunday, because Saturday I would work till 5 or 6 and come home. But, I was only spending a couple hours per week with my son, and I wasn't spending any time with him during the week. Pretty much I left before he woke up, and I went to bed, or he went to bed before I got back home. So when I was leaving the house at 4:30 in the morning and coming home at 10 p.m. every night, I never saw him, and, my life completely sucked, and I didn't make that much money for that type of stress. So the online module and this has allowed me to help a lot more people, and I'm a lot more happy, and I have a much better work-life family balance. I have coached competitors, and I've coached myself to many competitions of all sorts. If I could go back in time, I probably would have hired a coach every time. But, I kind of wanted to learn on my own and try a lot of different things. So, I've competed in CrossFit, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, bodybuilding, men's physique, and my most recent is calisthenics, which I did the most times, and my last 3 competitions were calisthenics. I fell into the calisthenics just because, I felt like it was the most serious group of guys. If I'd say like bodybuilders and powerlifters are down here, calisthenic guys are like up here, just a whole nother level, a different world, way more fit, way more ripped, way more jacked. If you take any of these calisthenic competitors who aren't eating on a bodybuilding diet or nothing close to it, they walked on a bodybuilding show stage, they mopped the floor with everybody. So calisthenics is something I got into heavily. One of my questions here was how many grams of avocado oil can they use in place of 66 grams of avocado? I think that question is based off of my day of eating ripped lead mag. So pretty much the equivalent of 66 grams of an actual avocado is equal to 2 teaspoons of avocado oil, or macadamia nut oil, or olive oil. So this is something I've leaned towards more recently with the fats. So when trying to get leaner, the protein sources are leaner, chicken breast, white fish, white chicken, and then I will add avocado as my fat source, as opposed to having a fattier protein. In terms of some questions that I got on the stories, let me just try to see if I can pull one of those up. I think I wrote down there. So one person wanted to explain bulking and cutting. So as far as bulking and cutting, you want to put all your eggs in one basket. You want to put all your efforts into a particular goal. You don't want to be half-stepping. When you're brand new, you can gain muscle and lose body fat at the same time. Or if you're very overweight, you can do it too. Or if you've never had your shit together, you can do it as well. But for most people that have been doing this for a period of time, you're going to have to focus on bulking to get as big as possible, and then focus on cutting to get as lean as possible. Yes, you could do it at the same time and do the lean bulk, but it's a lot harder to gain mass and gain size eating chicken breast and broccoli. It's a lot easier to do this if you have a little leeway with your diet, with your carbs, with your fats. So, yeah, so, I think trying to stay lean is the thing that holds many guys back, and it's the thing that keeps so many guys from never reaching their potential or never getting the physique they want, because once they start seeing their abs go away, they feel like they're fat, they start cutting again, and this prevents them from never bulking or never getting as big as they want to get. And for most people, the look you want is going to be achieved through more muscle, not less fat. And also over time, the more muscle you build, the more you speed up your metabolism and the more fat you burn over time. So definitely you want to put all your eggs in one basket, go as hard as you can in each direction. And again, you can do it at the same time. It's just a real pain in the ass. It's going to be really slow. It's going to be tedious. It's kind of going to suck. But there is going to be a psychological issue in any of these processes. Like, you're going to have to go through a period of time that you're going to know that to look better in 3 or 4 months, I'm going to look worse in 1 or 2 months. You have to get past that. My abs are going to go away. I'm going to get soft. You got to get over it. It's all about the big picture. Let me see if I have any more questions up here to answer. I have my phone in front of my screen, so some of the stuff I can't see. Let's see here. Let's try to grab at least one more question if we got one. We got to have someone somewhere. Let's see. What did you eat today? All right, we can do that. So today was a training day. So my day started off with 180 grams of chicken with 66 grams of avocado, 40 grams of oatmeal, and 40 grams of a banana. My second meal was my pre-workout meal, which was 40 grams of Gerber cream of rice, 20 grams of sunflower butter, 45 grams of protein, and that was it. And then post-workout, I had 200 grams of sweet potato, and the sweet potato is measured raw, 180 grams of chicken, and 33 grams of avocado. My next meal will be 180 grams of chicken, 33 grams of avocado, maybe 60 grams of veggies. And I will have 150 grams of sweet potato. And then my last meal for today will be 200 grams of ground turkey, 93%, and maybe some veggies. And that's pretty much it for the day. And again, who's counting? How do you increase your energy? I'd say a lot of it is decreasing negativity and decreasing just bullshit that you deal with. Let go of the things you can't change. If you can't change it, fuck it. Only worry about the things you can change. If you can't change it, all it's going to do is drain your energy. You want to sleep as much as possible, get your rest as much as possible. The deeper you get into this whole workout world and this fitness world, the more rest is important for you. So you want to think of that. But, you got to manage your bandwidth. You can't go 1,000,000 miles an hour in every direction. You can't go 1,000,000 miles an hour at work, 1,000,000 miles an hour in your marriage, 1,000,000 miles an hour in your workout. You have to pick your spots. You're a human being. You have to manage your energy and do what you can. If you feel tired, you feel worn down, you got to take a step back. If you're on fire, charge ahead. But you got to be aware. You got to feel it out. What's the best kind of workout for weight loss? There really isn't a best type of workout for weight loss. You don't want to be using your weight training to lose weight. You want to be using your weight training to maintain or build muscle. And you want to be using your cardio and your diet to lose body fat. But in terms of like these HIIT-based or circuit-based training, sweat your balls off, Orange Theory type of thing, it's nonsense. It's just going to end up having you lose muscle. If you're in a caloric deficit and you're trying to do these high volume, crazy sweat your balls off pump workouts, you're going to lose muscle because you just don't have the calories to support it. So I'm very against that. But when you're trying to lose weight, the best type of workouts to do would be strength training. Training specifically to gain strength. If you keep your strength, you'll keep your muscle. You keep your muscle, you'll keep your size. You keep your size while you lose weight, you'll look fucking great. What have you been training for recently? I say recently just to get in shape for summer. I got a trip for the Bahamas coming up in 4 weeks, so that's the thing I've been going hard for, full tilt. So we're trying to have a baby peak then, even though, you know, I'm still trying to enjoy myself and my family and my kids. I have to pick my spots amongst, you know, what I'm going to eat, drink, whatever. And then my next peak will be August 22nd for our trip to Paris. So that is what I'm training for. How long does it take to lose 20 pounds? Well, you can realistically lose 1 to 2 pounds a week. So in the fastest way, 10 weeks, balls out. In a more manageable, sustainable way, 20 weeks. Do it in 30 weeks. Do it nice and slow and steady. That should be permanent for sure. And in terms of losing weight, the slower you do it, the better. Anytime. The quicker you do anything, the more likely you are to bounce back and rebound the other way. So the slower anything happens, the more permanent it will be within your body. What are the best foods for weight loss? Well, first off, you want to stay within your caloric deficit. But in terms of the best foods for weight loss, you know, clean foods. As far as protein, I would say chicken, beef, or turkey, 93% or better. I would lean mostly onto white fish and white chicken if I'm trying to get ripped. And like I said before, I would probably use avocado or avocado oil for the fats. So you're getting a cleaner fat as opposed to when you're bulking, you might want to use an 85% ground beef, something that's got a little more nutrient density. And that will really get you big. But as far as weight loss, it's more about the timing, about the portions, and just managing your hunger and managing spikes. So you want to have an even-keeled, clean energy. You don't want to have peaks and spikes, up and downs. So you want to have a good amount of fiber, a good amount of protein in all your meals so that your energy is sustained throughout the day. How long should I spend at the gym? Well, one, that comes down to your schedule and your responsibilities, but an hour in the gym is a long fucking time. Not a whole lot of people can train hard for an hour. Train hard for 45 minutes, 40 minutes, that's plenty. Most people that are training for an hour or more, or I say anybody training for over an hour, is not training that hard and they're taking prolonged rest periods at some point. You want to get the most bang for your buck. You want to be in, you want to be out. You don't want to have these periods of time when you're spending 7, 8, 9 minutes between sets. At that point, you know, you get into a conversation with somebody, your body thinks you're done working out. It starts getting into recovery mode. And then you start working out again. Your body's like, what the fuck are you doing? So, you know, you want to be more concise with your time. I know there's a lot of guys that like spending time in the gym because they hate their wife or whatever else. They just want to stay out of the house. But for most men, you want to get in the gym, do what you need to do, and get home to your family, get back to your responsibilities that you have to take care of. What is your go-to source of protein? So I'd say right now, I'd say chicken. Most of my meals are chicken, and I have less variety now in the cut because it's more critical on how you digest and how you look. So if you start noticing that a food is causing you more bloating or more sensitivity, indigestion, you want to get rid of that food because a lot of times it won't necessarily be body fat, but you might not look white just from inflammation or just because a food doesn't agree with you. So, you know, if you're not going to look good, at least have it be because you're fat, not because you had the wrong food and you're indigested or bloated. But at some point, I want to show some photos of myself because, you know, I can go from one day to the next from going from like ripped to like a straight up dad bod over one bad food choice of someone that doesn't agree with me and just inflames my entire body. And, you know, I just look like shit. And, let's see, supplement tier lists. I'll go over some supplements. So I'm not too big on pre-workouts. A lot of them have some pretty crazy shit in them. You know, plenty of them have crystal meth in them, literally. Some of them have steroids in them, all types of shit. But the non-stimulant ones I prefer because the stimulants are mostly the dangerous stuff that gets you all jacked up. But as far as the blood flow and the buffering lactic acid, those are the ingredients that actually like do something and help you train, not the ones that get you all revved up. So as far as stimulants are all vasoconstrictors. So they seal up your blood vessels and they prevent blood flow. And that is the last thing you want while you're training. You want to have a vasodilator that opens up your blood vessels and moves the blood through your body, which if you have a stimulant fat burner, half the ingredients are constrictors and half are dilators, and they just compete. And at a high level, add too much caffeine, you could have a goddamn heart attack. Whey protein or plant-based protein is something that most people will need. You know, if you can get all your protein a gram or close to a gram per pound of muscle or body weight from whole food, by all means go for it. But most people, it's going to be hard for them to do that, so they're going to have to sprinkle in some shakes here and there. As far as other supplements that I'm really into right now, more so for general health, as you know, as I've gotten older, it's more about general health and living long as opposed to building muscle. So things like glutathione, coenzyme CQ, TUDCA, and different health, kidney, prostate, liver type of supplements, just to keep everything firing on all cylinders. But as far as supplements, you know, anything that's not coming from your diet, you know, a supplement is just that, a supplement. For fats, I really like MCT oil, although I may avoid it during a cut, but it's a great source of energy. Let's see. How do I know which body parts are weaker than they should be? Well, there are a lot of antagonists, protagonists that should have equal strength, like your biceps and triceps strength should be equal. So like your bicep curl and your tricep extension should be equal. Your bench press and your rows should be pretty equal. Your overhead press and your pull down should be pretty equal. So, I mean, you know, there's all these generalizations, and when I was going through school, there was all these things like, you know, if you can do this, you should be able to do this. If you can do this, you should be able to do this. But I feel like so many people don't fall into these categories. They're so individualized, and you know, there's just specific things from your life that just kind of change the way your strength is. Like, you know, many women have incredible rotational strength on one side and none on the other, because they always hold their kids on one side and their purse on the other, or something like that, or just something that they've been doing for years that causes a ridiculous strength imbalance. How often do you take a deload, or do you just go by how your body is feeling? I usually take 2 or 3 weeks off per year. I don't like to deload just because it would be hard for me to go into the gym and not train as hard as I can. So I'd rather just stay out of the gym completely. But I usually schedule these every 16 to 20 weeks, something like that. And usually when I get there, I absolutely need that week off. Like either I'm hurt, I'm sick, I'm tired, and usually like where I set these timelines up is pretty much right to my limitation. I hits it pretty good. Let's see what we got. HIIT versus regular, slow, steady state cardio. So in terms of actually burning more fat, HIIT is going to burn a lot of fat during the sprinting periods, and is also going to burn fat beyond when you're done. So like if you get your heart rate up to such a high rate, we go into EPOC, Jesus Christ, post-exercise oxygen deficit, I think that's what it is. So your body has to fight its ass off to get back to a normal heart rate, so it continues burning calories. So after a HIIT session or a sprinting session, you can burn calories for another 12 or 20 hours, which is very effective. But at the same time, that intensity of the cardio itself potentially could eat into or take away from your muscle building, depending on who you are. If you're more ectomorphic, you're more of a skinny guy, you might want to avoid this. If you're more endomorphic and a bigger guy, you could probably handle more high intensity cardio, CrossFit type of shit, and not lose muscle. So it depends on who you are. As far as steady state cardio, if we went down to the steadiest, lowest intensity, which would be walking, that would probably be the best for most people, because you will never lose muscle walking. It's just low enough intensity. You can do tons of stuff while you're walking. It's great to be outside. But again, you know, I like to say that while you're walking or doing the steady state cardio, you're going to be burning calories, but pretty much once you stop, that stops. As opposed to HIIT, when you get done, you're still going to burn calories, but at the same time, you have to be mindful that you will have some more susceptibility to losing muscle because of the intensity of the exercise. Let's see. I think that's all the questions. Maybe we got one more question here if I can go back. How do I improve my mind-muscle connection? Now, this is something that later in your career becomes more important. You know, when we're younger, we slang weights. We try to move as much weight as possible. And that works for most of us, you know, in our 20s. But as we get older, slanging weights and going a million miles an hour, the chances of injury are way higher. So, and I always like to bring it up to people that, you know, I see tons of guys that lift a shitload of weight and look like dog shit, and other guys that don't lift that much weight that look fantastic. So the mind-muscle connection becomes very important, and the deeper into your career, the more into it you get, the more you can rely on the mind-muscle connection, and you want to make the lightest weight feel as heavy as possible through your control, through your tempo, through your connection, through your flex, as opposed to the other way around. So again, you know, like the heavy weights, they are going to bring trauma. They are going to elicit growth. But again, your chance of injury is way up when you're slanging weights. And then, you know, when you're 20, it's not that big of a deal. But when you're 40, it's a very big deal. So, you know, if you're hurt and you can't get to the gym, you can't train, you can't make progress. So we're better off finding exercises, finding machines that we can go closer to failure and keep our joints safe and still be able to move a large amount of weight later in our career, as opposed to younger in our career when we might be focusing more on benching, squatting, free weights, XYZ. But one of the problems people get into is they think that early in their career they can go to failure or use more machines or use more isolation. But you kind of got to earn that, you know, earn that through years of doing the right thing, of pushing some big weights, from getting really strong. Once you get really strong, all those other things will work really well for you, because then once you're strong, you can do a lot of reps at pretty heavy weights and create a pretty heavy adaptive muscle gaining stimulus. Sorry, my little guy's freaking out. But yeah, that's about it for the questions. And I think my guys are getting to that threshold with the carrying on here. But otherwise, guys, have a very nice Memorial Day weekend. Eat what you want within reason, but hopefully you've been eating good for the last couple weeks, so you're ready for that. And otherwise, stay positive. You know, if something bad happens, give yourself a second to think, is this a bad 5 minutes or is it a bad whole day? Allow yourself time to change your thoughts, to prove to yourself if you think it was bad, if it's really true that it's the worst thing ever. And most of the time, you can give yourself an option to think something different and you'll feel much better. But the way you think changes your actions, changes your thoughts. Keep everything positive, going in the successful way. Once we start going negative, going to the bad side, we need to be aware, we need to rewire, we need to rethink, we need to turn the bus around and get back in the successful direction. Have a nice weekend, everybody.